Radio show on this Monday night. Glad you can join us on the Braves Sports Network, 91.7 WPRL, Alcorn Public Radio, the flagship station of the Braves Sports Radio Network. In Natchez, WMIS, WTYJ, 97.7 FM, 1240 AM. Fayette, Natchez. They've been doing a great job on the broadcasting front in Natchez for over 100 years. And also in Hattiesburg, WGDQ, 92.1 in Hattiesburg. Glad you can join us here on the Alcorn Football Radio Network and on the Braves Sports Network. Charles Edmond here, Braves head football coach Fred McNair. Smiles all around. Fred McNair was grinning from ear to ear the minute he walked in the studio 7 days ago. It wasn't the case, but the Braves got it done as they defeated Alabama A&M on the road. Coach, welcome and congratulations on the big win.
I appreciate it, Charles. Well deserving for the kids, man.
Yeah, just talk a little bit about it, Coach, because this was one, and we got off to a slow start. Noah Johnson got off to a slow start, but once he got going, well, I'll tell you what, the team really got going.
Well, that's one thing we always talk about during the week of practice, Charles, about getting off to a fast start, not slow starts, and that's been the case for the last couple of weeks, and for some odd reason we come out slow and sluggish, and I don't know, we just have to take time out this week and figure out what's going on, and see kids get off to a faster start, and that's been our biggest thing, going into each game, trying to get off to fast starts in no case, but this hasn't been the case for the last couple of weeks, so we just got to make some adjustments and see what we can do to get these guys going early.
Alabama A&M, what worried you the most? They were the hottest team coming in, obviously a young quarterback. The defense was making plays, trying to run the football a little bit. They had some pretty tall, athletic receivers they were trying to get involved, and we did a pretty good job there. So what was the biggest concern going into the A&M game?
Well, knowing how talented they were, Charles, and they were very talented, good group, coached by a good coach in Maynard. Did a lot of things well. A lot of things they did on offense that kind of gave us fits on our defensive side. On that defensive side, offensively, we struggled that in the first half and got in the red zone 2 or 3 times and couldn't capitalize on the points there. So they was a very good team, a well-coached team, and did some things that created problems for us. And went in halftime and coming back out and make some adjustments to kind of to put points on the board for us.
Well, let's get into some of the scoring, and a school record was set. We'll talk about that. We'll have the highlight of it coming up. It was a 3-3 game at the end of the first quarter, and we had some open receivers again, trying to get Noah Johnson settled in. As a quarterback yourself, what does it take to get a quarterback settled in, especially right off the bat?
Charles, during the week of practice, we talk about that. Pat does a great job with those guys and with their feet and everything, and so there's some kind of way they revert back to the old stuff. That's part of the nature. And, it's something we do every day in practice. It's drops and the release of the ball and things of that nature. For what odd reason, I don't know, Charles. And we've been trying to dissect that and trying to figure out what's wrong. And in the game against Minnesota, it was the same way. A lot of high throws. Got open receiver. We got to hit those guys, man. We can't make those mistakes. Good ball club, capitalize on that. We got to convert on third downs too. So we struggled there, and for some odd reason, we just can't hit open receivers. So we just got to go back to the drawing board this week and see what we can do to fix it and get ready for Saturday.
Yeah, 3 for 16 on third down. You hear all the time, you watch games on television, a good running game, a positive and productive running game early settles down a quarterback. Is that the case?
We do that well. We run the ball well, Charles, and so you think you have more confidence than anything when it's time to throw the ball. You should, if you feel it, should feel good when it's time to throw the ball. But for some odd reason, it's not the case. But we just got to go back and try to adjust it and fix the things that's wrong. And just watch film and we know what's wrong. He's just not set his feet the way he's coached. So we just got to fix that some kind of way and get those guys doing the right thing. So during the course of the game.
All right, so the Braves got on top of McCullough, 34-yard field goal, Coach, with 56 seconds in as your defense created a turnover in the first play of the game. Glass was stripped. We got the football, and McCullough was able to nail a field goal. Now that was a good sign early on, considering what happened at home against Alabama State.
And that's one thing, you know, me and Corey, we talked about that. Just put that behind you, man, you know, and let's move forward to the next game, which was Alabama A&M, and that's what he did. Corey knows. He worked on this situation, his fundamentals, and kicking all week, so he was prepared to kick. And that's one thing about him. He's a bounce-back guy, and you don't let things linger over and bother him, you know, so he was ready to kick, and that's what he did. Come through with some clutch kicks for us.
And then Alabama A&M came back with a Corey Spencer 44-yard field goal. So, Coach, at the end of the first quarter, low-scoring ball game, we had some opportunities. We had possessions. It was just a 3-3 game at the end of the first 15 minutes.
It was a heavyweight bout, Charles, and that's what we expected going in. I know Coach Maynard, you know, does a great job at that football club, and, you know, we just have to go in and make some adjustments and figure out what we need to do, you know, in the heat of the moment. So that's just the way it was.
All right, so 3-3 game at the end of the first quarter. Let's go to the phone lines here at 9 minutes after we approach our first break. Larry joining us from Columbia here on the Fred McNair radio show. Good evening, Larry.
Good evening, Charles.
Good evening.
Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man.
Congratulations on that win.
Yeah, much needed, man.
Coach, from my perspective, just watching Noah play, do you think he settles into the game more when you start off giving him a few carries running the ball? Huh?
Well, we looked at all that too, Larry. We dissected the film and figure out what it is. And the biggest thing is, you know, just being hot with his throws. I mean, you going into the game, you run the ball some, and you get him some carries, and then you still have those problems. I don't know. But we trying to fix those as we talk now, and thought we did some stuff this morning, and, you know, with things going on with his passing game, I mean, that needs to improve during the course of this week. Of course, you know, we got a big game coming up. That's one of the things that we need to improve on, our passing game. So we're working hard to get that done, and we'll see how this week goes.
Okay, another question. I was listening to the broadcast on Saturday, and I heard you at halftime talk about your communications. What seems to be the problem with that? I mean, that could cause us to lose a game.
Yeah, I
There's
told
a lot
her.
of things that you can pick up from up top.
Yeah, blind eyes can't see, Charles. And Larry, that's just the way it is, man. We don't have any. So communication, we had to bring the guys down to field level, try to figure out what they was doing. You know, when you're not up top and you don't have communication up top, you know, it's always kind of tough for a coach, and even tougher trying to put kids in position to make plays. You know, and, you know, it's the coach's responsibility to see it and put the kids in place to make plays. So when you can't see it, it's hard to put kids in the right position to make the right calls, offensively and defensively, because you need those eyes up top to know what personnel they're in coming off the sideline on offense, and you don't have that. And then another thing, when you're calling plays, when you're trying to get into the right play, you can't really see exactly on field level what you need to get into, what technique they're running. Those things could create problems, and this is a big game for us here. Probably won't have none this week either. So we've been doing what we have to do as far as getting it done as coaches. You know, from cell phones to whatever it takes for us to get it done. And I'm not quite sure that's legal, but that's the only sometimes communication that we have, and that's just what we've been doing. So, you know, our coaching staff, we gonna try to get it done the best way we can. That's all. I mean, that's just it. And we've been like that ever since Georgia Tech. I've been inquiring about headsets ever since Georgia Tech, but doesn't seem to be getting done. But as coaches, we're going to find us a way to get it done, and we've been piecing some stuff together, but they don't seem to work out too good either. So, but we, as coaches, we're going to find a way to get it done some kind of way or another, Larry. But thanks for asking anyway, man.
Okay, Coach. Good luck this Saturday.
All right, Larry, we appreciate it. Larry calling from Columbia, and as you always say, Coach, in spite of whatever's happening, try to piece it together and make it work. And I know that's tough, and I know people have been talking about it, and I'm sure at some point there will be a solution to that. We'll take a break here. That takes us to our first time out from C Spire. We'll take this break. When we come back, we'll look at the second quarter, and school history was made. The longest run in school history occurred in the second quarter of this game on Saturday. We'll get to that coming up after this timeout from C Spire on the Brave Sports Network.
So you haven't washed your lucky socks since that fourth quarter comeback 5 years ago. At C Spire, we get it. You'll do anything to help your team win, just like anything we do is inspired by you. We're your biggest fan, lucky socks and all. From business to home to wireless, our inspiration is always you. C-Spire, customer inspired. Switch and save up to $500 on our best phones with trade-in. Details at cspire.com.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan. We were able to get in touch with each other in no time. The whole experience was fine.
The most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Visit beready.iowa.gov. Brought to you by Ready Iowa, FEMA, and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back to the Fred McNair Radio Show on this Monday night. Don't forget, Alcorn and Grambling, 2 o'clock on Saturday from Jack Spinks Marino Castle Stadium. We'll hear from Broderick Fobbs later on. At the half of the game on Saturday, we'll talk with Dr. Charles McClellan, the new commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. As a matter of fact, I posted a pretty good interview, extensive interview, talking about all things SWAC on my Facebook and Twitter page. So you can check that out. A lot of things on the plate, a lot of things in the hopper, financial and otherwise, talking about the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So that interview is up, and you can check it out anytime you would like. All right, Coach, let's get into the second quarter. It was 3-3, kind of a slugfest, trying to get our offense going. And, you know, you talked about taking Noah Johnson out at the half of the last home game. With the way he was struggling early on, I mean, he had a great game, but at that point, where you're thinking, do we need to make a change?
You know, thought crossed my mind, Charles, too, in a situation like that, when you're struggling and you see the struggle for 2 weeks in a row, Charles, it kind of bothers you as a coach, and you kind of figure out what's going on with them. And, but he seemed to pull himself together, there and get it together there, but you can't get off to a start the way he's been starting. So we just got to figure it out, Charles, and see what's on his mind and get it together so we can come out and start fast and complete some balls early. And that's the biggest thing. A lot of time when you don't have success completing passes, that's when you get into a slugfest when they bringing everybody down in the box then, Charles, to stop the running game. So we have to be able to connect on some of the deep balls that we throw, and, of course, connect on some of the wide open receivers that we have open.
Well, the second drive of the second quarter was 7.5 minutes left in the second. The Braves started at their 17-yard line. We had a personal foul penalty. It was a 3rd and 5. Then it was 3rd down and 19. 3rd and 19 from our own 8-yard line.
Definitely a big bounce back from last.
So that was the wrong highlight there. Noah Johnson highlight. I had that Noah Johnson highlight, Coach. We'll get to that, but clearly a huge run by Noah Johnson, and it was, I tell you what, it was a terrific run by Noah Johnson straight up the middle.
It was, Charles, and did a great job of not seeing nobody's open, so he used what's best thing he got is his legs, so he was able to escape the pocket and make that 91-yard touchdown run for us there. It was great to get that touchdown in the second quarter to go ahead 10-3 now.
That was, and I got a text right after that, that was the longest run in school history. The previous was 88 yards by DeLance Turner. I don't know if Noah knew that even on the ride home, that he just had the longest run in school history, 91 yards.
No, I don't think he knew it then, Charles, and I didn't know it until you mentioned it either. So just to show you, we trying to do other things and trying to make things ready to play on Saturday, get that game plan together on Mondays, and get all that stuff together. So I had no clue that was it.
So it was a 10-3 game at that point. So did you get the sense after that 91-yard run that Noah Johnson, his eyes lit up, he felt like he was kind of getting himself back on track?
Yeah, at that moment, Charles, you have a big run like that, your adrenaline is flowing and the things of that nature, and you're hoping that will be the case and getting everything back right and get settled down and play a good football game.
So there was late points there by Alabama A&M as they got a touchdown late to tie the game at 10, and that was the score at the end of the first half. Alcorn 10 and Alabama A&M 10. It's kind of what we expected, the way A&M plays defense, the way we were getting after it. So this was kind of what we expected, a low-scoring tussle.
No doubt, Charles, and that's what I expected because I know that they had a good ball club, and people look at A&M just like they rebuilding. they pretty solid, Charles, and they're a good football team, and I got a good coaching staff. So we had to go in and with a mindset that it was going to be a physical battle and it was going to be tough. Going into a hostile environment and things of that nature, we talked to the kids about the same scenario that we went into Southern with, homecoming, and they're going to be up for it. So that's one of the things that we try to prepare our kids for, just the environment that we're going in and being ready to play when you get there. So I think they did a great job of settling down and playing football today.
All right, so let's go to the phone lines here. Give us a call, 601-877-6595. Cedric Foster joining us here on this Monday night. Good evening, Cedric.
Good evening and congratulations, Coach. I tell you, that was a big win, a really huge win. Congratulations. I want to make a little brief statement. It was difficult, for me to listen to the game because, living in Tallahassee, we were dealing with Hurricane Michael and internet. We had problems with that, and I went over to a friend's house and I got locked into their Wi-Fi, and I still could not pick up WPRL, so I had to wind up listening to the broadcast on the Alabama A&M station. And it was quite interesting the way they called the game. And you alluded to it earlier when you mentioned that they were calling themselves in a rebuilding stage. Even the people that was calling the game, the announcers, called the game and says that we rebuilding, and we need to look like Alcorn, like the champion. That kind of made me feel good right there. It really did. But my question is this, Coach, what about, we got to run the table to win the East, and we got to get help from somebody, because, we lost that game against Alabama State. And I know this weekend is coming up. They got the Magic City Classic where Alabama State and A&M will be playing. And that's my question. Do we need help to win the East? And I'm going to hang up and listen.
I'm looking at Coach McNair, and Coach McNair looking at me. All right, Cedric, let's start with this, and I think we can just take this one piece at a time. And I think we can just take this 1 week at a time. Alabama State is off this week. The Magic City is next week. So the only thing we can do, Coach McNair, is handle our business Saturday. And this time next week, we'll have this conversation again. Because Alabama State did beat us. They have the tiebreaker on us. A&M they can win the East. They can't go to the championship game. So that's one of the things that we have to look at. And, you can say if the Cowboys beat the Redskins and the Packers beat the Bengals and so, you can say that. But I think we have to look at this 1 week at a time. And the only thing we can do, and in the last 4 years, we've had control of the East from start to finish. We've raced out in front, and teams have been trying to catch us, and we've had a cushion. But by the loss of Bama State, the race right now is out of our hands. We need Bama State to stumble, and they've got 2 trips on the road. They've got to go to Birmingham and the Magic City, and at the end of the season, they play Prairie View on the road. The rest of their games are all at home. So the only thing we can do, Cedric, and I know people probably want to know how all this works, you just got to take care of your business, control what you can control, Coach McNair, this week, and that's Grambling. And then we'll look at the standings next week and see where things are. I can say this, because Bama State is not playing this week, we'll pick up a half game with a win. We'll lose a half a game if we don't. And it'll all balance out in the end once Alabama State catches up and plays all these games, because we haven't had a bye week yet. They have. So all this is, still in the bag. But the only thing we can do, Coach McNair, our part, is to win on Saturday against Grambling, and we'll talk about it again next week.
That's exactly right, Charles.
Short and sweet.
Exactly right.
All right, so tie game at the break. We'll take a timeout here as we'll look at the third quarter. Bunch of penalties. The penalties, a bunch. I want to ask Coach McNair about the chop block, because early in the season we didn't get a lot of those. And now all of a sudden, the referee has to look at chop block as well as roughing the passer and holding and all that other stuff. So we'll talk about that, the penalties, the second half coming up, including one of the wildest sequences you'll ever see on a pick six, in which there were 2 hats and 5 flags, and the officials had to sort it out, and Coach McNair's chuckling at that. We'll try to sort it out as we return here on the Fred McNair Radio Show. We'll take a break. We'll be right back after this timeout.
The Old Country Store, located Highway 61 in Lorman, Mississippi, where you'll find the best soul food around. They're open daily, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. People come from all over to try Mr. D's famous fried chicken, good, and to hear him sing the Grandmama song. Go by and see Mr. D and his group. You'll be glad you did. You can call them at 601-4373-661. That's 601-4373-661. The Old Country Store. They are proud supporters of WPRL 91.7 FM and Old Corn Football. Go Braves, go. The Old Country Store. Good.
All right, it's 24.
You help provide job training for people right here in your community. Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
At WPRL 91.7 FM.
I interrupted Mr. D in Goodwill. That's not a good sign. All right, welcome back to the Fred McNair Radio Show here. As we look at the third quarter scoring, we outscored Alabama A&M, coach, in that third quarter, 22-8. It was 10-10 at the break. Deshaun Waller's touchdown made it 17-10, and that was a heck of a drive, Coach, as we grabbed the lead. 6 plays, 69 yards, third down and 8. Rodarius Anderson, 52-yard catch. It was good to see Ray back in the mix.
Yeah, of course. Ray had a good week of practice all week too, Charles, and just going into that game, just knowing his presence on the field. You know, I thought it meant a lot to our offense and what we do in our passing game and things of that nature, Charles. But he had a great catch there, and I thought it was really good.
So that drive gave us a 17-10 lead. Then we had a block punt recovered for a safety as John got involved to put the team up 19-10.
Well, actually, it was Deron Bonds that blocked the punt, and you know, on the defensive side, we played our safe punt. We kept the defense on the field, and we rushed in, and Bond got the block, and that was great to see. Give us 2 points there.
So talk about how we've been able to get pressure on punters this season. We haven't talked much about special teams and field goal blocks and things like that. Talk about how you're seeing those units trying to make something happen.
Well, I guess the biggest thing is, you know, just coming in and just identifying what we need to do and just having a special team coach and Lane Powell and the job he does with those guys on special team. But, you know, a lot of guys don't really take special teams serious as where it should be, but that plays a third of your ball game, you know, Charles. You know, that's just one part of your ball game that you really have to be solid at special teams. You know, you look last year, we had a fake punt on us last year in the championship game against Grambling and things like that, and then stuff that, you know, as a position coach, sometimes we don't get a chance to watch those kind of films on the special team as much as we need to. So just having a special team coordinator, I think what meant so lot to this program this year that we have one. He paid more detail in what the special team is all about. So that gives us a little edge on special teams there, the things that he's doing on special teams.
So it was a huge momentum swing because with the safety it was 19-10, and then we got another touchdown. We converted, Coach, a 4th and 4 from A&M's 27-yard line, rolling the dice there.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we wanted to do, Charles, and I thought that, you know, in 4-down territory, you know, and instead of trying to get a kick, just trying to get that 4th down play, and I think we converted that one, and that was good for us.
All right, so with that made it 26-10. And then Alabama A&M with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. Glass was a little slippery customer. We got heat on him, but once he slipped through, he was able to find some receivers. A touchdown pass to Brian Jenkins Jr., the son of the former head coach of Bama State, Brian Jenkins Sr. And they were trying to target him a lot, and he had a 19-yard touchdown reception, and with the 2-point conversion, Coach, it was a 26-18 game at that point.
Yeah, he's a little water bug, Charles. I mean, he get behind those big guys and hide, man. He's a very small guy, and on that touchdown, I think Coach Thornton hollering out, scream, but when I saw him line up, I lost him after the ball was snapped just that quick, you know. They converted on that touchdown and 2-point conversion.
All right, so then the Braves come right back with a minute and a half left in the third quarter. Al Harris is really starting to come on. I know a lot of folks tweeted and asked about him in the early part of the season. He's making some big catches of late. He had a 13-yard catch on 2nd down and 3 that got us to A&M's 30. And then Noah Johnson's 29-yard run set it up, and Waller's touchdown made it a 32-18 game at the end of the third quarter.
That's pretty good, Charles. You know, just to speak on him, I think he's come of age now with all the other receivers. You know, the guy that's playing pretty good for us and catching the ball now. That's going to help us out too. You know, just open up those other areas that we need to throw to as well. So, you know, going into this game, I think we're going to need everybody. So that receiving core is going to have to play a big role in what we're going to do this week.
So it was a 32-18 at the end of the third quarter. As we approach the bottom of the hour, let's go back to the phone lines. Our good friend JJ calling from Mobile. We hadn't heard from JJ. Where you been, JJ?
I've been watching the football. I've been staying out of y'all's way. Staying out the way. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing good, man.
How you doing, Mr. Evans?
Doing pretty good.
This is kind of crazy, but last week I went to the homecoming game and I lost my voice, so I wasn't gonna call in last week. And Friday night I was thinking, I said, I'm gonna go up to Huntsville and watch them play. And I said, no, I'm not gonna do that. And I just couldn't sleep the whole night. I said by 3:30 I made my mind up. I said, if I make it there now, I might be able to make it there in time. So I gassed up and I left in the middle of the night from Mobile, went straight to Huntsville. And I got up there around like 12 o'clock-ish. And I was glad I went, you know, because the team looked like they had a real bad taste in their mouth. And last week or whatever it is, that's just football. You know, we lost because, I mean, it's just football. You know, they had opportunities, we had opportunities. We just didn't do it. But this week or whatever, I felt like that we really made a jump to what we're trying to do. And especially in the second half, like you just feel like they had like a swagger that was just out of this world, that they were just really confident coming out of the second half. Coach, I do not know what you told them. Keep telling them that. It worked. It really worked.
I don't know if I can do that.
You know, congratulations, Coach, and I'll be there this weekend sometime. And see y'all play Grambling, and good luck, and keep up the good work, and hope everything goes right.
Save your voice, JJ. Save your voice. You're going to need it Saturday. It should be an exciting one. All right, JJ calling us from Mobile. We'll take a break here halfway through the Fred McNair radio show. We'll look at the fourth quarter as the Braves put the finishing touches on it. Alabama A&M with a late score. So we'll talk about that. The penalties. Was hoping we wouldn't talk about that at this point, but unfortunately the penalties were a huge story. We'll talk about it when we come back after this 1-minute timeout here on the Fred McNair radio show.
You are tuned in to WPRL 91.7 FM, broadcasting from the campus of Alcorn State University.
Break a bone, don't break the bank. For sprains, strains, and breaks, don't sit for hours waiting for emergency care. Visit the walk-in clinics at Mississippi Sports Medicine, located in I-55 and Fortification, in Jackson and in Madison. They're open weekdays from 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. and on Saturdays, 8 a.m. till noon at the Helplex location on I-55. Any age, any sport, any injury. And of course, walk-ins are welcome. That's the Mississippi Sports Medicine Clinic, located at 1325 East Fortification Street in Jackson. For more information, call 601-354-4488. That's 601-354-4488. Any age, any sport, any injury, Mississippi Sports Medicine has you covered. And they are a proud underwriter here on 90.1 WNPR. And of course, WNPR, one of the proud network stations covering Alcorn football for 27 years. They've been a part of the Braves Sports Network since 1991. Charles Evers, Wanda Evers and company doing a good job up in Jackson. I'm glad they can join us each and every year for Braves football. All right, let's get into the fourth quarter. Coach McNair, not a lot of scoring. McCullough, 39-yard field goal to make it 35-18. And then Gardner's pass from Smith as they brought in their backup, Dylan Smith. I know you weren't happy with the late points. And even though we won the game, we had the game under control. You want to close it out in fine fashion and a late touchdown there.
That's something we talked about during the staff meeting on Sunday, you know, just finishing the ball game. But we had opportunity there on offense to close it out. We have less than 6 minutes left in the game. We ran the ball pretty good and got stuck right there on fourth down with a minute or something left, you know. and put the defense back out there. So you want to finish that ball game right there with the offense on the field. But at the same time, you know, on defense, you can't allow that last score to go in right there. And we talked about that on the staff on our Sunday about finishing the ball game, and that's part of it.
So the final score, 35-26, the Braves win. This game featured 143 plays. The Braves ran 77 plays for 500 yards, 341 yards on the ground, 160 yards through the air. 2 players with over 100 yards rushing. Noah Johnson, of course, the longest run from scrimmage in Braves history, that 91-yard run. And Deshaun Waller, 133 yards on the ground for the Braves. But just talk about how Waller, I mean, he was injured early in the season. He really seems to be finding his mojo right now.
Yeah, he is. He's a great addition, Charles. And this is a very humble guy, and you very seldom know he in the room, Charles. And he does a great job. Got great vision, and he does a good job with the ball in his hand. Right there at the end, one time, I thought we had a long run, but he made a move on the safety, and the safety clipped him, just took his leg out there. And that's supposed to be a penalty, you know, and that enabled him from not scoring that touchdown on that play. So he's doing a great job with his vision and eluding blocks and tackles and everything. So he's doing a great job on his feet.
Of course, Noah Johnson, with his running and throwing, 154 yards on the ground, 160 yards through the air, 16 of 27 for 160 yards. So he accounted for 314 of the 500 yards. And after the game, he talked to our Cedric Tillman.
Definitely a big bounce back from last week. And just talk about how you feel out here.
I had to go back to the drawing board after last week. You know, getting pulled, you can either be soft or come back and work hard. And I went back in the lab and I worked hard. I stayed after practice all week, got my receivers. You know, I wasn't gonna let last week determine who I really am and how I really play.
Well, you know, I tell everybody, you try to get it done on the ground a lot of times. You seem like that kind of gets you going.
Yeah, sometimes, and sometimes I get it going through the air. I felt like it was just a slow start for us today, but I know one day this offense gonna put it all together. One day it's coming. I know it's coming.
I know Coach talk about that all the time, that you guys have all the tools and keys.
Right.
It just a lot of times it just comes down to execution.
Yeah, that's all we gotta do is execute. And if we come out here and execute, we'll put up big numbers. We'll do everything that our offense we know we can do. But you know, we got a great defense, and it's a team sport for a reason.
All right, well, good game out there. All right, my chance.
All right, Cedric Tillman, thank you very much. And you know, Noah Johnson talked about it, and you've been talking about it, the fast start. That's something that the Texas Southern game was the one game, but the other games kind of getting out of the gate slow. And it reminded me of a text, someone sent a text, I think Kermit was talking about the fact that we haven't had a bye week. Does that play a factor in the fact that you haven't had a chance to really get a little downtime and just the grind of getting out there every week without any sort of downtime? Does that buy into it?
You know, the biggest thing is, Charles, you know, when you talk about a team that's been here ever since June the 28th and then had a break, you know, and, you know, as a coach, you look at and kind of evaluate things out and you think about their legs and things like that. So I kind of cut back on the conditioning a little bit and trying to give them a little rest and the things that they need to get done as far as body-wise. And, you know, but, you know, just had to have a break, Charles. It's been football ever since June 28th, you know. And during the month of July, we can't really do anything with them but conditioning. Then you come into camp, and you got 29 days of camp and nonstop. And then you go right into the season without a bye early. You know, I think everybody done had a bye but Alcorn. And I think Alabama State, this will be their second one. So, you know, and I think everybody have a bye prior to playing Alcorn State, so
or homecoming.
Yeah, or homecoming. You're right, and so that's big, Charles. But I'm as a coach and the staff, we try to do everything to get these kids rest and get their body healed up and being healthy is the biggest thing. I think Jaleesa, she's doing a great job of getting the guys in treatment and doing the things that she got to do to get them back on the field and get them where they can play. So you know, it's just a multiple of things that occurs during the season that guys sometimes need rest, and our early bye sometimes will help. You know, about halfway through the season, you know, think about our bye week don't come until after the New Mexico State game. So, you know, it's a grind for us, and it's a pivotal point where in the middle of the season where you done played the Southern, you done played Alabama State. We done played Alabama A&M. Now you got two big ones coming up, and this one in Grambling and Prairie View next. So it's going to be a grind for us, Charles. It's a tough one, but as a coaching staff, we're going to find a way to get it done and get these kids ready to play for the next few weeks.
You don't want to say the phrase "hit the wall," and you hear that all the time in every sport. Just the grind of the season, you hit that point. So the question is, I mean, I guess we can pose it. You think we've gotten to that point, or we just trying to maybe 2 or 3 steps away from that point, just awaiting the bye week?
No, I think we're gonna keep everything going like it's been, Charles, and I think that the kids they up for the challenge. You know, like I tell them, you know, it's not gonna be a big speech this week. You know what's in ahead of you. So, you know, what's that task and what kind of week this got to be? Kind of be a good preparation week. And we talked about that in the team meeting earlier. It's a preparation week. We got to be ready to play. And as coaches, we're going to hold our feet to the fire and make sure we're getting it done as coaches and putting the guys in the right position to make plays. And hopefully that will get done on Saturday.
All right, so let's talk about the one thing we hadn't talked about the last couple of weeks, penalties. 15 penalties for 149 yards. Probably one of the most hilarious moments in the game on Saturday. We had a pick, but then there were 3 penalties and 2 hats thrown. The official couldn't catch his breath to be able to dissect all the penalties. I think he had a pen and paper in hand to try to mark off the penalties and how that would impact the intercept. That was one of the funniest moments I've seen in a long time because the official ran out of breath trying to give all the penalties and the infractions. But the bottom line is we had 15 for 149. What could you or what did you say, if anything, about the penalties? And I know you dissect those on Sundays.
You know, going into the locker room at halftime, you know, I got the coaching staff. We talked for a brief minute, and that's one thing that I iterated was the penalty, the personal foul. We had 2 face masks. We had a chop block. We had multi false starts, offsides, and those type of things, and that we hadn't had in the last couple of weeks, Charles, and that shouldn't happen. And that's one thing I alluded to the coach about going to halftime. We got to get those corrected. Kind of minimize those things. And all of them happened just about in the first half too, Charles. You know, the big buck of them. So there's the big ones too. You know, it wasn't the 5-yard penalties. It was the 10 and 15. So I know the face masks and personal foul stuff. That's the one that really just hurts me so much. And we get those kind of fouls unnecessary. You know, don't really have to happen. But you know, face masks gonna happen every once in a while. But you just don't intentionally grab somebody's face mask and unsportsmanlike conduct and all that kind of stuff, which I thought was a bad call on Solomon Muhammad. And you know, he tackled the guy, and the guy gets up and stumbled, and he stumbled over the guy. So it was a questionable call, but you know, it was a penalty. It was unsportsmanlike deal. So we just got to make sure we correct those this week because, like I tell them all the time, we're not that good enough to overcome these penalties. We're playing a good football team coming in Saturday, so we just got to eliminate those penalties and things that hurt all corn as a whole. We just stay out of our way, Charles, we'll be okay. We get in our way so much, and it hurts us, you know. So it's not nothing that the teams are doing to us. You know, we stand in our own way sometimes, you know, and that creates problem for us, you know. So that's one thing that we just got to minimize on Saturday, is those penalties like that.
Explain the chop block to me, because when it's called on number 66. I mean, the name doesn't matter, but chop block on number 66 and number 76.
Yeah, it's a combination of 2 guys, high-low and a guy. You know, it should have never happened if Chris McCray does his job. If he cuts instantly, there it don't happen. But he stood up. They did a twist on us, and he engaged with one of the guys that were twisting, and Deontay Brooks came down and cut him. And that's what a chop block is. You know, you can't have a guy of high contact and then the guy hit him from below. So that's what you call a chop block. And that would end up happening on that play, and they know that. And you know, just so happened that Chris didn't do his job, what he's supposed to do, and got engaged with the guy that was twisting and Bubba chopped him. So
you talked about third down, Coach. We were 3 of 16 on third down. I'm sure you'd like to improve that.
A lot, Charles, and a lot of times it's because we get behind the sticks a lot of times too. You know, like I tell the guys, man, we have to get better at that. You know, as a coaching staff, we got to make sure we get the right plays in, and we can't do penalties, and that what hurts a lot of times on third down conversion. We get behind the chains. You know, we have a different mindset of the play call. So, but we just got to get better on third down conversion. I mean, we bet on fourth down. We might as well just go fourth down and convert on fourth down in those cases. But third down, we just got to get better.
Leading receiver, Verdarius Anderson, 1 for 52. Harris, 3 for 47. Chris Blair, 3 for 30. Defensively, Cole with 9 tackles. Solomon Muhammad, you talked about him, with 5 tackles. And Kinsler really coming on with 4 tackles in the game. We were 4 for 4 in the red zone as the Braves win 35-26. We've got text and tweets to get to. Let's take a quick call from Marquise joining us here on the Fred McNair Radio Show. Good evening, Marquise.
How you doing, John?
Doing pretty good.
How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing good, Marquise.
Yeah, it's a huge game. I mean, Grambling coming in, and anytime Alcorn and Grambling play, it's a history. You know, late red Eddie Robinson and Doug Williams, and just there's a lot of history behind it. And the last time they were here a couple of years ago, it was one of a SWAC Classic, an overtime game. So this is a huge game, Marquise, coming up, and we really need it. Well, we appreciate it. We definitely will try to go for our second win in a row. We appreciate you coming on, Marquise. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back. We have texts and tweets to get to, and we'll look ahead to Grambling. We'll hear from Broderick Fobbs. We'll get his thoughts on the Braves, and we'll get Fred McNair's thoughts on the Tigers, one of the featured games in the week in the conference. Back after this 1-minute timeout on the Fred McNair Radio Show.
Trademark and licensing of the Alcorn State University insignia was established to protect the Alcorn State University name and identifying marks. Trademark and licensing administration works to preserve and promote the university's long-standing reputation as a center of academic and athletic excellence. Merchandise vendors wishing to use the university's identifying marks on commercial products must be licensed vendors who have obtained permission to use Alcorn State University marks by securing trademark licenses. Campus organizations that want university identifying marks on their internal use products must hire licensed vendors to produce these items. To learn more about the licensing and trademark requirements, visit www.alcorn.edu/trademark and licensing administration.
All right, welcome back to the Fred McNair Radio Show. Text and tweets coming in talking about the communication issue that's been the story the last couple of days, and I can just say that I'm sure yourself and the university is working to get that corrected, and hopefully it will at some point in time as we get down the stretch to make that happen. A text has come in, of course, 601-348-7254, talking about scheduling, talking about these big money games. How much impact do you have in terms of scheduling these games early, middle, or late in the year?
Yeah, well, I wish Charles, but that's something that the athletic director does, and things of that nature. I have a little input on it, but I think pretty much everything pretty much settled before it get to me.
And this caller Derek on the text says doing a great job, and of course the late buy obviously is important. You can obviously tweet a question also, Tall Man Radio. I'm on Twitter, and we have a bunch of questions coming in on the Twitter feed, Tall Man Radio. Glad you can join us here. Andre Young always calls in or tweets. Congratulations on the win. Trying to fill in lanes on kickoffs. A&M almost broke a couple for long runs or maybe touchdowns. Just when you talked a little bit about punt and kickoff returns.
Yeah, we have one player that if it goes one way, we have to go the same way. And when one player go one way, another player goes the other way. I go left and you go right and go open up a gap. So I think that's what was happening right there. But it was good to fill back in with some of those guys to come in and make that tackle. But we talked about that this week too as well, and making sure those guys fill those lanes.
LaRon Jones on the Twitter feed, due to our dominant running, why don't we run more play action? Of course, we do some of that, and why can't we run a two-back set? I think we've done some of that with PJ as well as Foreman or Waller.
We've been doing that pretty much the whole time, Charles. Two-back set, play action with the RPO and everything's that nature. So we're going to continue to do that and try and get better at it.
All right, so we'll take a break here. We appreciate the text and tweets. I think a happy bunch of Braves fans as we get ready for Grambling coming up. So we'll take a time out here. The time is 48 minutes after the hour. We'll dig into Broderick Fobbs Higginbotham. And I want to ask about Darius Christmas. He was named the SWAC Defensive Player of the Week. He's from Vicksburg. I want to talk about him. He's a difference maker, so we'll talk about all of that and the Grambling Tigers coming up after this 1-minute timeout here on the Fred McNair Radio Show.
What if you only needed one company to take on all your technology challenges? Introducing the new C Spire Business, the industry's first full-stack managed solutions provider. Over 500 service professionals, over 8,600 miles of fiber, and the 9th-ranked cloud in the entire world, all into a single managed IT portfolio. The new C Spire Business. Consider IT managed. Learn more at cspire.com/business. C Spire, customer inspired.
One day, I'll teach chemistry to kids.
I'm going to be an architect.
My dream is to be a chef.
At the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Federal Student Aid, we provide more than $150 billion each year in grants, loans, and work-study funds, making higher education possible for anyone at any stage of life.
I can go back to college.
I can change careers. I can make a difference. Federal Student Aid, proud sponsor of the American Mind. Learn more about money for college at studentaid.gov.
All right, welcome back to the Fred McNair Radio Show. A quick SWAC report. Of course, Jackson State beat Valley 23-7. South Alabama over Bama State 45-7. And Grambling beat Texas Southern 34-21. Cedric Foster was talking about the standings and where we stand. The Braves right now are 3-1 with 3 games left. Grambling, Prairie View, and Jackson State. Jackson State's 2-1. Alabama A&M's 2-2. And here's the thing, we played 4 division games, or conference games, if you will, and Bama State has only played 2. And they have the tiebreaker on Alcorn at the moment. And that's the thing you have to look at, the fact that it'll all catch up in the end. But the only thing we can do is just do our part, win our games, and see what Bama State does. They've got 3 home games. They have the Magic City Classic, and they have to go to Prairie View. That's the same week, I believe, that we play Jackson State in November. So control the controllables, and all you can do is handle Grambling on Saturday. And that's our next opponent, the Grambling Tigers. They were struggling a little bit early in the season, playing a couple of quarterbacks, but they got it done. Higginbotham got it done as they had 2 quarterbacks to start, and Higginbotham stepped up and threw for 277 yards in their win over Texas Southern 34-21. Their head coach, Broderick Bobs, talks about the win and what he can expect as his team rolls into Alcorn here on Saturday.
I tell you, it was a really hard-fought football game. You know, Coach Haywood does an exceptional job, he and his staff. You know, I thought we started off moving the ball well, but, you know, turned the football over in the green zone one time, and then we threw an interception the second time. Then we missed a field goal. Field goal was blocked the third time. So I thought the block punt kind of got us going, and I think we kind of started putting points on the board, you know, in the third quarter from then on. And you know, they scored as well, and you know, but we just, you know, were making some key mistakes, you know, roughing passer, things like that they capitalized on, and I thought that they did a good job of capitalizing on those mistakes.
I know you started out with a couple of quarterbacks, and I know you've been trying to work through that. Is Higginbotham, at this point in the season, is Higginbotham the guy?
You know, right now Higginbotham's, you know, playing well, but I think we got 2 guys that can play, and that can play well. And you know, it's just at this particular time, you know, he's playing well at this time, and you know, you don't want to interrupt that. But I do feel we have 2 guys that can make plays and make all the throws, and they both have played well in practice. But I thought since, you know, the fourth quarter of the Prairie View game, you know, Higginbotham has kind of taken the reins, and he's playing well for us.
You know, when you look at your team, Coach, I mean, the last couple of years, and I know you don't like to look back, 2 years ago, last year, you had so many great pieces. Would you say this is kind of more of a rebuild, or is it still a work in progress with this team?
Well, you know, I think, you know, anytime you lose the caliber of players that we lost, there's going to be voids in those places, and that's with any program. You know, there's probably only one program that doesn't experience that, and that's probably the University of Alabama. But, you know, this year reminds me a lot of our 14 season, where, you know, it was kind of like building it and starting it over, you know, and that's just the way it goes. I mean, we got a lot
handling that process, knowing the success that this program has had, being stepped into the limelight, and just growing, and you're teaching them and coaching them up every day?
I think they're handling it well. At the end of the day, they're kids, and they're doing an exceptional job, and they're doing what we asked them to do. And if you watch us from week one, all the way up into this point, every week, every quarter, they've gotten better. And that's all you can ask for as a coach.
Well, Coach, as you look at Alcorn coming here on Saturday, just talk about the Braves, what you've seen from them. They were able to spoil Alabama A&M's homecoming, a veteran quarterback, decent running game. What do you see in the Braves?
They're a football team. They've always been a really good football team. Coach McNair does an exceptional job, he and his staff, of getting their players in the right position. They play extremely hard, and when you play hard and you play fundamentally sound, it gives you a chance, to be successful, and that's why they've been so successful. I see the same team that I've seen in previous years. They're a dynamic football team, and you got to play your best, in order to have a chance to beat them.
All right, so that's Broderick Fobbs giving his thoughts on the Braves. Coach McNair, let's get your thoughts on Grambling. I look at their defense, and that's kind of what's holding them up until they figure out their quarterback situation. They had 5 sacks versus Texas Southern. So let's start with the defense, then we'll get into the offense. What is it about Grambling's defense that concerns you?
It doesn't. They a good job, Charles, up front, the front seven, and mix and match what they do before they scheme wise. Get in the bar front, they run multi blitzes, and they come after you, Charles, and they kind of don't you get confused and blocking schematic and stuff like that. But they pretty good up front. The front seven does a real good job of chopping it up in there, man. So we got to be doing a good job with offensive linemen and making sure we're making the right calls and protecting and open lanes up to run in. So that's big for us. Christmas does a real good job. He's from sideline to sideline, Charles, and he's a tough kid. And we got some linebackers that play really hard. They're gonna play basically man free. So it's something they've been doing the whole time. Nothing changes. Defense coordinator does a real good job of calling the game. So offensively, Higginbottom, I think he done fell in his stride, Charles, and I think he done took over the job right now. So we're gonna prepare for him. He does a real good job with his arm, a real good job with his feet. He ran the ball well. Actually, 2 quarterbacks is the leading rusher of the team right now. So we got to battle with the throwing and the running on the opposite side of the ball. So he does a real good job, Charles. Got some dynamic receivers that can catch and run. Got 5 guys in double digits right now in reception. So we got our work cut out for us. We got to come in with our A game, Charles, and hope this is one of the games that we can get a fast start and play fast and constantly, early and often, as I tell the guys, we got to play fast and get after them pretty good this week, Charles. So we got to be prepared this week. Preparation, that's what I told them today. We got to be prepared.
I want to ask you about Christmas. He's from Vicksburg. How did that happen?
That's tough, Charles. It slipped right through us at the time, But none of my him, but he's a good player, man. And actually today, just unfortunate, Charles, I met his godmother and his aunt today in Vicksburg. So he's a good player, and he's gonna play hard. He's gonna give it all. He's coming home.
Yeah.
So this is the back door right here, Charles. So he's gonna come with a lot of excitement. So we got to be prepared to slow him down a little bit.
He sent out a post on Facebook that said, "Looking forward to playing on the yard." So I think
yeah,
he's looking forward to playing.
He's been here before, Charles.
Well, Coach, again, people want to know as far as the division race and all that. You can't worry about that right now. There's about a month left in the season. You can only control what you can control, which is you beat Grambling, and then you just got to go from there. And that's the next step in this process. I mean, it was a wild weekend with Southern blowing out Prairie View. No one expected that. I thought Southern would beat Prairie View, actually, but not by that margin. So the SWAC is getting a little wild and crazy, and you got to come ready to play.
It's just a balanced conference now, Charles. Everybody have those players, and everybody have those weeks they're gonna play. So it's just the mindset of these young men that we coach every day, Charles. Who's gonna show up on Saturday, and that's the biggest thing that we talk about. A lot of these coaches, we can coach these young men all through the week, put them in position to make plays, but we can't be out there on the field with them on Saturday, Charles. It's just the nature of it. And they have to make plays. They have to think for themselves when they're out there on the field. Once the call is in, we cut off from it. You know, they got to execute. So that's the biggest thing. You know, there's nothing that you can say. People all the time say, what is the coach is coaching? You know, it's not about that. So we try to put the young men in the best position to make plays and be successful on Saturday. And once that call is in on Saturday, Charles, there's nothing the coach can do about it.
The grind of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, it's here every week. Momentum changes every week. You're up, you're down. We're up last week. We just have to build momentum here on Saturday.
That's exactly right, Charles. We got to come with our A game on Saturday.
Coach, we appreciate it, and we'll talk to you this time next week. Hopefully a big win. I know a big win as we take on the Tigers.
All right, Charles.
All right, that's Braves head football coach Fred McNair here on the Fred McNair Radio Show on the Braves Sports Network. Pre-game at 1:30, we'll hear from Dr. Charles McClellan, SWAC Commissioner, at halftime. That'll do it. We'll talk to you next Monday night on the Braves Sports Network.